Imagine what you went through. I mean, how long were you in prison for?
The prosecutors asked for 8 years. So they were literally trying to lock me up for almost a decade, basically the rest of my young adult life.
Wow.
I went in not knowing how many years I would serve in total because I was pleading not guilty and pressing an appeal from prison. And then I won at the Supreme Court, was vindicated and released 6 months before President Trump was back in office. So I ended up serving exactly 1 full year. In fact, 366 days because it was a leap year. And that was the full length of the misdemeanor they were allowed until I eventually beat the whole thing, including all the misdemeanors, when we got it vacated with prejudice, all charges.
Were you charged with insurrection?
Nobody was. Not a single,
yes, exactly.
not a single case of insurrection was even charged, much less convicted. No, they didn't even bring the charge of insurrection. And insurrection is a federal crime, but no one even charged it. So, I mean, it's defamation to say so.
Yes,
it's
it is.
assassination of our character to use a
Yes,
criminal charge that wasn't even alleged, much less convicted by due process. But no one seems to care about that in all the ruckus. So
how do you handle that in general public? Okay. They all look at you like the conversation said, you know, in this conversation, like, how can you, they think Dr. Fauci is so wonderful. And they're like, how do you support someone who is a convicted felon and all those insurrectionists on January 6th? I'm just like, so a lot of the public sees you as an insurrectionist, yet you've never been charged with that. How do you handle that?
I mean, they see Anthony Fauci as a hero when he's actually a mass murderer. I'm publicly calling for him to be prosecuted with due process, convicted, and he should be given the death penalty. That shouldn't even be a controversial thing to say. He's one of the most outrageous monsters in modern history. So if the death penalty doesn't apply to that, like, what are we even talking about? So, but yeah, people are openly calling on, you know, social media and so forth in the public. I'm running for Congress at johnstrand.com. I'm not afraid to call Anthony Fauci a monster because he is. And yet people are saying, no, you should be hung for attacking the Capitol. Yep. People have said that to me. Okay. We're living in this insane world that's wildly polarized. How is this going to play out? How are we going? It's not tenable. We cannot sustain a civil society with people that are supposed to be fellow Americans calling for each other to be killed because you know, they think I'm an insurrectionist and Anthony Fauci is a hero. This is insane. Okay. But that's the whole entire point, Amber. The point of our enemies is to divide us because, like Jesus said in the Bible, a house divided itself cannot stand. Correct. Jesus also said, you are either for me or against me. There is no middle ground here. This is good versus evil. Okay. And of course, they're going to flip it and say Anthony Fauci is fighting